Hello rock and metal fans, welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. Apologies for anyone waiting for a video yesterday. I spent the day with my two beautiful daughters because it was Father's Day. And well, happy Father's Day yesterday for any of you dads out there. I'm sure there's plenty of them listening to this channel. And today I'm going to do a few videos today, I would have thought, but I'm going to start off with ranking the year of 2007. So it was a bit of a strange year, 2007. It wasn't the best. There were some good albums. I've got 6 altogether in my top albums, and then there's quite a few honourable mentions and some other mentions that I'm just gonna, because other people will definitely be mentioning them in the comments. So what we'll do is we're going to go through my top 6, starting from number 6 and then going to the best album from that year. So my number 6 is Stan Bush, In This Life. So Stan Bush, if anyone doesn't know, he's an American singer-songwriter. He actually wrote, and it's probably not his best tune, but he's quite well known for, he did the Transformers theme tune back when it was a cartoon. But he's done, obviously that's not his best song. He's done a lot of really good melodic rock songs, AOR type stuff, really good voice, really good songwriter. And this was sort of my favourite album from Stan Bush was Stan Bush and Barrage album that he brought out with the band Barrage. That was a great album back in the 80s, but this was a real return to form for him. It's In This Life is the album, and there's some great songs on here, all like in that melodic, catchy 80s vein. A couple of tracks of my favourites on here: I'll Never Fall, This Moment. Excellent songs, really catchy stuff. If you haven't heard any Stan Bush stuff, and you like that AOR melodic rock stuff, get hold of some of his albums. But the two I'd recommend is this one, In This Life, and Stan Bush and Barrage one. I think he's had 2 with Barrage, but the first one was the best one. I'll give this album 7 out of 10. All right, now my number 5, Primal Fear, New Religion. So there was a bit of a dip in form for Primal Fear for me. Even though it's made my top albums, this was one of their weaker ones, in my opinion. They toned down the guitar a lot. The heaviness was taken out of it, what they were well known for. You can hear that straight away from the first track. The guitar is definitely down in the mix than it was on the other albums. But there's still some great songs on here, and just shows you how good the band are if they still make my top albums, and it was one of their worst albums, if you like. But when they really hit the mark on this album, there's some great songs. Fight in the Darkness is a really good, slow, epic song. Face the Emptiness is a good one. Sign of Fear. So there's some good tracks on here, but I think they tried to do something a bit different, which ain't always a bad thing. But with their follow-up album, they went straight back into what they're known for, and that'll probably appear in my later lists. And I'll give Primal Fear, New Religion, 7 out of 10. Right, next one on my list, the album Down 3, Over the Under by the band Down. So this was, again, a dip in form for me. I definitely preferred their first 2 albums to this one. It didn't have as many hooks for me. It was a lot more stoner rock. Got them southern. They've always had that southern sound as well, which is great. But I don't know. I didn't get into this album as much, but I love Down, so it made my list still. I much prefer, probably get a lot of stick for this, Down than Phil Anselmo's Pantera. Even though I liked some Pantera stuff, I really did. I think the Down, it was a bit more, there was a bit less extreme vocals from Phil Anselmo, a lot more hooks for me, some driving, real heavy songs, but in a different sort of style. But yeah, great album, but not hitting the mark again of their other stuff. But I'll give Down 3 7 out of 10. It seemed to be, this year, it seemed to be very, some of the albums, some of my favourite bands were releasing some albums and had a bit of a dip in form. As I go through this year, you'll see that. But, you know, they're some of my favourite bands, so they get the mentions, but just a bit of a dip in form. And this next one's no exception. So, Iced Earth is my number 3, and Framing Armageddon was the album. So this was the second one, or the last one as well, from Tim Ripper Owens on the vocals. As anyone knows, I'm a big Iced Earth fan. I think they're great. The one before this, A Glorious Burden, was one of my favourite Iced Earth albums. That got a 10 out of 10 for me. This one, not so much. But when they hit the notes yet again, it's real good. What is this? This album's like a concept album, and it's filled up with a lot of little snippets. Probably a bit too much. I don't know. It's probably about 20 songs on this album, and there's lots of those 1 minute, 30-second type things, and it just doesn't seem to work as well as a lot of concept albums for me. But there are some great tunes on here. Something Wicked Part 1 is great. A Charge to Keep, fantastic. 10,000 Strong is another good one. Order of the Rose is one of my the best songs on this album as well. So I think Tim Ripper Owens as well, even though it was a good vocal performance, not quite as good as Glorious Burden as well. So a little bit of a dip in form, but they had a lot to live up to from the Glorious Burden, in my opinion. But I'll give Iced Earth, Framing Armageddon 8 out of 10. So moving on to my number 2. So everyone knows I'm a big Jean Londe fan, and he brought out the Alan and Londe. They brought out the Alan and Londe project, the second album, The Revenge. So although I think this wasn't as good as The Battle for me, it still carried on very in the same sort of vein. You know, those real melodic, but still modern sounding symphonic 80s sort of songs. A real mixture of a lot of musical styles, and this was a really great album, but just didn't quite hit the mark of The Battle for me. I think The Battle was something a bit fresh, and it was like, whoa, it really hit me. And then you know, maybe if this album came out first, it would have done the same. I think it just carried on and just had a slight dip in form in the songwriting department. I don't know. Vocals amazing still, but it was a really great album still. The Revenge is a really great song. Under the Waves as well. And also this may have spawned my favourite Alan Londe song. Definitely close to one of my favourite, and that's Master of Sorrow. Absolutely full of atmosphere, like slower song. Absolutely love Master of Sorrow. You know, that's a 10 out of 10 song without a doubt. But I'll give Alan Londe, The Revenge, 9 out of 10. Right, let's come to my number 1. And it's the sophomore effort from Alter Bridge, Blackbird. So, yeah, I mean, this is considered by a lot of Alter Bridge fans as their best album. You know what, it does flick in and out of the best album for me. I've recently done, if you look back on my channel, I did an Alter Bridge ranking albums. I think this may have come second or third. But it's just, you know, it can be number 1 as well. I just don't... They're 4 of their albums, Alter Bridges, they right up there at the top. And sometimes you know, I'm saying one can be my favourite one day, and then it can just change. But this was full up with brilliant songs from start to finish, no fillers. Ties That Bind came in. What a great song that is. It came with a lot of fumbling sort of riff at the beginning, and then it bangs into the song. Excellent. Come to Life, Buried Alive, Watch Over You, brilliant slow song, really sad lyrics. But also it spawned obviously the title track Blackbird, which is an absolute classic. I think it's about 8 minutes long. The actual guitar solo in Blackbird was voted the best guitar solo of all time in the Ultimate Guitar magazine. So there was a vote done, everyone voted. There was thousands and thousands of votes, and I think it won 70% of the votes. So that just shows you how good this solo is on Blackbird. Literally hair stand on the back of your neck every time I hear it, and I must have heard it about 500 times, but every time it gets me. When Tremonti comes in like after Miles Kennedy's bit part on that solo, and he bangs in with that high note, it just like, it gets you every time. A brilliant sad song as well, that I think it was a tribute to one of the band's friends who died. Excellent song, excellent album. If you honestly haven't given Alter Bridge a chance because of their past with Creed, if that's your only reason, you're missing out. You are literally missing out big time. Right, and I'll give that 10 out of 10, by the way. Alter Bridge Blackbird, fantastic album. Right, let's go through some honourable mentions first, and then some other mentions I'm going to go on top of that as well. So we got honourable mentions. I'm not going to talk too quick about them because the video will go on too long. But Saxon, The Inner Sanctum was a good, strong album, and this sparked a lot of albums in a row that were strong. Didn't quite make my top albums. I think sometimes I sort of prefer the older Saxon stuff, but I can understand the direction they were going in, more of a sort of power metal sound, but very good from the guys. Tesla, Real to Real. So this was like a covers of bands. I'm not too sure about cover albums. I can understand why bands do them. It's a fun thing to do. They actually brought out, I think, a Real to Real 2 as well in the same year. But I didn't really get into this album. I think Tesla's own material for me is just so fantastic, and I don't know, sometimes cover albums are a bit... You had Jung. He actually brought out a solo album as well here, but it was a cover album again, Unlocking the Past. See, there you go, another one. And these are great covers, by the way, but I don't know what it is about covers. And Jung doesn't really change him up that much sometimes. When he goes and does a heavy cover, like from a band like Dio, and they do sound very similar, he doesn't change him up, and they probably don't need it. But I prefer Jung, like he does some stuff on here where he covers some old tracks that weren't really heavy metal and turns them heavy, which are cool. But I don't know, cover albums are, you know what I mean, I'm not a fan. So other mentions, Ozzy, Black Rain album. Loads of Ozzy fans out there obviously will want me to include that in the list. Didn't make my top ones, but still Ozzy. Rob Rock, don't know if you've ever heard of him. Joshua, Imperiality band. He's like power metal, quite heavy stuff actually. He brought out Garden of Chaos. Scorpions brought out Humanity Hour 1. I remember being right into it when it first came out. But I don't know, I think I'm comparing a lot of the Scorpion stuff to their older stuff, and that's a bad thing to do because they were classic, but it was okay. Avenged Sevenfold brought out their title track album, Avenged Sevenfold. Got slammed a bit by the critics at first, but it's been known to be one of the most favourite albums from the band. It wasn't for me, it didn't have as many hooks in it as the albums before, and you know, as definitely the album before, but they had better to come as well. They had really good albums to come, so, but not a bad release. And Crazy Licks, Swedish band, the sort of glam 80s melodic rock stuff. They brought out Loud Minority, which was their debut album, and it wasn't a bad album, but they've got some great albums to come, which will more than likely be in my top albums of the years. So that's it. I'm going to do a couple of reactions today. I'm hoping to get around to do a couple of reactions that you guys have been asking for, so keep an eye out for that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please press subscription button down in the right hand bottom corner, and it'd be great. Subscribers are really building up, really happy about it. Wasn't expecting it. I think I'm up to 75 or something now, so that's just like brilliant for me. You know, I wasn't expecting anywhere near that, so that's great. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. Get some brilliant comments from you guys as well. But yeah, be doing a couple of reactions later, so stay tuned. Cheers.